Hey, this is OXDF, and today we're looking at the Advent of Code 2015 Day 5 challenge, and we're writing the solution in Rust. Let's go ahead and take a look at the prompt. So Santa needs help figuring out which strings in his text file are naughty and which ones are nice, and so we get this criteria basically. A nice string contains at least 3 vowels, it contains at least one letter that appears twice in a row, and it does not contain these 3 strings. And so then they give us some examples down here of what matches and what doesn't. And that's our challenge. Let's see, our puzzle input, let's take a look at that real quick. It's going to look like just a long file of strings. Interesting, they're all the same length, but we won't assume that for the sake of solving here. So how are we going to approach this? This seems like a really good use case for some regexes. And I suspect there's some regex magic in Rust that I'm missing, but first thing I came across when looking around for this is this regex package, right? But the challenge you run into right away is in this first second sentence here, right? So it's parsing, compiling, and executing regular expressions. Its syntax is similar to Perl style, but it lacks a few features like lookarounds and back references. And back references are what are going to allow us to say, show me a character and then the same character next. And so we're really going to need back references. And I spent a while before I actually saw that result there. But eventually, once I figured out why I couldn't make back references work, I found the fancy-regex package, which is an implementation of regexes, including back references and lookarounds. That's exactly what I need. So we're going to use that. And what's cool is if we look at here, we're gonna use in the normal regex package, we use regex, and then we can make regexes like that. In fancy regexes, we use fancy regex, and then we make regexes like that. So we can kind of follow the same syntax for there. So I guess the next thing we want to do then is actually write our regex. And so before I even start coding, I'm going to go over to regex 101, and I've got the examples from part 1 here. And so we can come back here and start to look at the different criteria. And so, for example, this one says, oops, I'm not in part 2, let's go to part 1. If you haven't watched this series so far, I have solved all these challenges years ago in Python. So now I'm redoing them in Rust. So that's why it shows that I've already solved it. But so let's see. It needs to contain 3 vowels. So let's start with that. So let's go to our regex 101. And so a vowel is A, E, I, O, U, like that. And we're going to need that. So we're going to need at least one of those characters so we can see where they match. Then there could be really anything, and there could be any number. So dot star. So that's going to say any character, and star is 0 or more. And really, we just need that expression right there to show up 3 times. So let's wrap it in parentheses, and then we can say like this. And what this effectively says is vowel and then 0 or more other things 3 times. So we get matches here on all but the last one. And let's see here. This last one is naughty because it only contains 1 vowel. So that looks good. The rest of these look good. So I think that regex is going to work. The next regex will be to detect a letter that appears twice in a row. So let's go back here. And we will, effectively what we're going to say is we're going to have any character like that. And again, we're going to use, so first, if we start with just that'll match any character. And you can see literally every character is matched. If we put it in parentheses, that'll take it into what's called a capture group. And so now it's captured that value, and we can reference it. This is a back reference with the backslash and the number of the back reference. And so effectively this says any character, and then that same character again. And so you can see we match D, D, A, Y, Y, R, R, etc. So I think that's what we want, and we got everything but the middle, the third one. Let's make sure where that matches up. So this one is nice. This one's nice. The third one is naughty because it has no double letter, so we're good there. This last one, it does not contain these things. It's actually not a trivial regex to write, at least not as far as I know. We're going to want to just, we could write a regex that says it contains these things, and then, say it contains this or this or this. So what would that look like? We want something that contains, let's grab these strings here and go over to regex 101. And so effectively what we want to say is AB or CD or PQ or XY, close like that. And so we can see the fourth one does not, it does have that hit. So let's see, was that, and so this one is naughty because it contains XY, and so these other ones are all good. So that regex, we wanted to make sure we negate that when we put it into our code. So there, I guess at that point, we've got 3 regexes that meet what we're looking for. I probably should have written them down, but they were all pretty simple to write. So let's go ahead and dive over to VX code. I'm going to use my GenDay script. If I went over this in my day 0 video, you can check that out if you want the details, but it's just my script for generating a new cargo package, a new Rust package with cargo, and collecting the input.txt file for me here. And it creates a nice little stub for me here where it reads the input into data here. I'm getting some errors with my plugin. I'm going to let's see real quick. I'm going to try to refresh this because I don't want to, it would be nice to have the extension running. Let's just disable it, reload, and re-enable this. And again, I went over the plugin stuff, the extension stuff in the day 0 video as well. So see if that works better. So we're in day 5 here. We've got our data. Perfect. Okay. So there's really two parts to this. One, we want to apply a filter to data to get just the lines we care about, right? So we're going to say let part 1 equals data. And then we're going to do dot lines like this. And then we're going to do dot filter. And so dot lines is going to break it into a vector of lines. Filter is going to take in things. So we're going to read in a line. And we're going to return, we're going to filter if we get true for, we'll make a function called nice on that line. And then effectively what we really just need to do is count. And so part 1 now will be the number in that thing. If we wanted to, instead of getting a count, if we wanted to see, like, turn it into a vector, we could also do collect. And collect takes this iterator and turns it into a vector for us. So then we could, now part 1 is going to be a vector and we'll print it. I think, actually, I don't know if it'll print or not. We can play with that, come back to that, but we'll start just playing with count here. And so obviously Rust is yelling at me now because we've not defined the nice function. Let's come up here and we'll do fn nice, and it's going to take a string s, so we'll do that, and it's going to return a bool. Like that. Perfect. So what do we need to do now? We are going to need to import our, so we'll do use fancy-regex regex like that. And we are going to, I think that error is just showing up because unresolved import. Okay, so we're gonna need to add to our Cargo.toml file. Fancy, let's see, where is, make sure we just get this right. Fancy regex here. It's fancy-regex 0.10.0. That'll work. Equals 0.10.0. That looks like it resolved our errors nicely. Okay. So the next thing we need to do here is we want to build our regexes. We don't actually, what we don't want to do is, there's 2 parts to building a regex. You build the regex object, and we can grab the examples over here. So we're going to create this regex object by creating a regex new here. And then we're going to use that regex object to apply it, check, call something like isMatch on the string. And this part is going to be the same every time we call it. And we don't want to do that every function call. In fact, we'll play with it a little bit once we solve and see if we can look at time differences doing it that way. And so I came across this thing and some Googling about this called lazy static, which allows us to sort of define something that the first time you get to it, it actually runs all the code, and the second time it just returns the value. So let's see. So we can do that by let's go back in. We're going to need to know, we need to get the lazy static 140. So we're going to need to add that to our Cargo.toml. Lazy static equals 1.4.0, like that. We'll come up here and we'll do use lazy static. I think it's just lazy static. Yeah, like that. So now we can come down here and do lazy static, and this is actually a macro. And inside that block, we'll do static ref re1, and it's a regex equals regex new, like that. And we can put our regex in there, and we got to call unwrap on it. And if you, I talked about this a little in previous videos, but this regex thing, regex new is actually going to return a result. So it's either going to be an error or an OK, and inside the OK is the actual regex object. And so unwrap just says, you know, give me that OK thing, and if it's an error, panic. So we need to put our regex in here, and if you remember, our first one was AEIOU dot star, and then we need that 3 times. I believe that was right. And we'll do static ref re2 regex equals regex new, and unwrap it. And I suspect there's this whole thing I went playing down on regex groups where you can sort of apply. I think it's probably does the thing I'm about to do where I kind of test for all these things individually. I couldn't get that to work with lazy regex. I bet you it's possible, but I'm not sure. So there might be like a more sleek way of doing this, but it works okay for now, I think. So this was the double character one. So we're going to capture our character, and then we're just going to do our backref like that. And static ref re3 regex equals regex new. And so the last one was we want to match on any of those. I think I still have this one in the browser. Let's grab it. Any of these things, and this is the one we're going to want to be not true. So paste that in there. Unwrap like that. So now what we can do, we've got our 3 regexes. We can just do return re1.isMatch on s. And so we want that to be true. Come in here, re2.isMatch on s, and not re3.isMatch on s. I keep putting those parentheses in, even though the editor's doing it for me. And so there we have our 3 regexes applied. So now what we're going to do is we're going to loop over all the lines. We're going to filter out ones that return true here, which will just be ones that have the matches how we want them. We're going to get a count, and we're going to run it. Let's go ahead and try it. I mean, it can't possibly be that solved on the first try, but let's try it. So you can see it's installing a bunch of stuff there. And let's see. We never call unused variable s. Huh. I wonder what that's about. Let's see. That's weird. We do unused import fancy-regex. Am I doing something there? Aha. Okay, I think I'm just thinking. So the not was somehow masking it, but we're gonna run. I think we need to run unwrap after these. So our isMatch is returning a result. So just like I talked about earlier, we're gonna call unwrap here, or else it's returning these results and it doesn't know how to and those together. So that's causing problems. Let's try that and see if that compiles. Now it's not right because we got to put a not in here. I think we can do that by doing just an exclamation point. And we get 258. Let's check that out. That's an example, by the way, of just when you're doing, Rust will often break things. And what I like to do is just start trying to simplify my code down, even if it makes it wrong for what I'm looking for, until I can get messages that make sense to me. And so when it's saying to me like RE is not getting used, like something's breaking before it gets in here. And anyway, so let's see. What are we looking for? What was our result here was 258. We'd go submit that and we'd be right. So cool. So part 2. Santa switching to a better model of determining blah, blah, blah. So now a nice string. So basically we're going to have completely different criteria. Has all the following properties. It contains a pair of any 2 letters that appears twice in the string without overlapping. And okay, that's doable. And then the second one is it contains a letter which repeats with exactly 1 letter between them. So X, Y, X. Okay. So I've got these example strings again. The first 2 are nice, and the second 2 fail for each of the 2 reasons. So great. Let's go over here and build our. Actually, let's go back. Let's go here real quick and make our. This will be easy enough to create our framework for where part 2 is going to go. So we'll put that here. We'll call part 2 here equals this. We'll make a nice 2, and otherwise it's the same. Part 2 like that. That looks good. Now we just need to come up here and make a nice 2. Let's grab this. A nice 2. We're only going to need 2 regexes this time. We're going to call them regex 4 and regex 5. I think I could use those same names, but let's not mess. But why? You know, there's no reason not to just make some new names. So we're going to come with 5 and 4 here. Okay, and so now we just need to put the new regexes in here, and we should be good. Okay, back to browser. So the first one is a pair of any 2 letters that appear twice without overlapping. So I've got the examples over here. So we're going to do the same kind of thing. So we're going to do dot dot, and then we're going to capture it. So any 2, oh, no, sorry. Oh yeah, any 2 letters. So that's pairs, and you can see it's highlighting things in pairs here. And then there could be any amount of stuff in the middle. It could be 0, and star allows for 0, or it could be the whole string. And then we're going to want to see the backref. And so here we can see QJ through QJ, XX through XX. Because we don't have any capture around the backref, it's not showing up in a separate color. We could add this. We won't need it, but now you can see the backrefs, the matches show up in their own color on regex 101. So I'm going to go with this one. This looks like a good function for the first part. And, oh, wait, we didn't look. Yeah, so it's matching on all but the last one. I guess that's what we're hoping for. This one is naughty because it has a repeating letter, but no pair. Yep, so we're good on that. And so then the other one is we need this pattern of ABA. So let's go back into our regex 101. And again, I think this is at this point is pretty easy. We're just going to do dot, and we're capturing it. Then we're going to do dot again, and then we're going to do our backref. I don't know if did it say it has to be, did they say the middle one has to be not the first one? Contains a letter with exactly 1 letter between them. So what I don't know is, oh, even AAA. So it is okay if the middle letter is the same as the other one. So, okay, perfect. So this is exactly what we want here. Any letter captured, any letter, and then that first letter again. So, and we can see we match on 3 of the 4, so it looks like that should be good. Let's come over here, put this in, and I think we may be done. Let's see, nice 2, we'll save this. Run it, and we get 53. And we get 53, so we solved it. Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead. One thing I did want to look at real quick, just before we go too far, is what happens if I wanted to find these without this lazy static? Does it make it faster or slower? So let's do something real quick. We're gonna just do part 1. Let's comment out some stuff here. We're going to need to therefore comment out all this. I'm sure there must be a way to add comments. No, okay. Selection. Now I could have just typed in at this point, but toggle block comment. There we go. Okay, so we've commented that out. We're just gonna get part 1 now. We still get part 2. Oh, we should save. Saving helps. Better make this that. Okay, so now we can time this and see that we get point. That is really fast. 0.7 seconds, 0.07 seconds. So this might be too fast to notice a difference, but let's go ahead and just try. What would happen if we make FM nice? Actually, let's do it this way. We'll just copy. We'll grab this whole thing. We figured out how to do this now, so we can edit, toggle block comment, paste it in here. And this time, instead of defining these in these lazy statics, we're just going to let RE3, and because Rust is so detail oriented, it's going to yell at me for having all caps variables if I do that. So I'm gonna let's RE1, oops. Okay, and then we just need to make these RE. Okay, so now I think, let's see, we don't need this. Save, looks good. So let's time this again. From before we were getting about 0.07 seconds. What's my warning here? Oh, I don't use lazy static. Okay, save that. Let's make sure we get something clean. So we're getting way slower. This is actually proving the point I was hoping for. So we're getting about a second, a little over a second, whereas before we were doing less than 1/10 of a second. So that just shows there is time, computer time spent building these regex items, and so we really want to build them once and then apply them over and over again, and not build them each time we call the function. So, all right, I think that's the end of that tangent. Thanks for sticking around with me till the end, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.